Hey, let's talk about making mistakes and free will. Okay, so hopefully the larger consciousness can assist me here in giving you something that you can be feeling way better with. Okay, we are in a very complex reality of so many relationships. We are all the same consciousness driving different avatars. But the way we process environment, the way we process relationships is unique to our individuality. So we're all different and we perceive reality differently. Now, reality is a virtual hologram. And the larger consciousness, or let's call it just here the higher self or the superconscious, you can think of it as a computer generator that is simulating this experience. So, like we're in a video game, and the organizer and the developer of this video game is also you and me, but it's a consciousness in a higher dimension. Okay. Here, we are just perspectives of that same consciousness being you, me, and everybody else. So, we are also then given free will so that we can just find meaning to life as we want to interpret it. Okay, and this free will is very important factor in the simulation because the intention of source consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, the absolute, is to create as much possible diversity. It's a creator. It's a creator and experiments with different kind of builds and different kind of systems. Just in it has an infinite potentiality and it has infinite curiosity. Okay, you could say that these are like some of the larger basic fundamental qualities of God, like God. And these are the reasons that are baseline reasons or inherent reasons for when you see why everything is happening like it is happening here in this complexity, you can say the free will and the complexity and relationships and even harmful things, they everything exists because we have free will, but free will exists because the experimentation gets greater, the knowledge gets greater, the experience gets greater if everything is not organized by an algorithm that cannot question itself. So that would be determinism. Okay, so now that we have free will, it's about actually what you decide. And you decide based on your own data set as an individual, your own memory, your own interpretation. Okay? So, therefore, mistakes are certainly allowed. And what would be a mistake? Because how do we define mistake? Because we reflect through our memory on things, how we do things, and what results we want to get, and then what happens, and we learn. So we are self-reflective. So there's no mistakes that, like there is a God that's gonna judge you. Okay, but it's very interesting. This kind of correlates. It occurs to me the idea of religion and like the seven deadly sins. So what are those? Like gluttony, wrath, lust, something Okay, like teaching of the ages of, also you and me just being here before as individual units or collectives of individual units of consciousness, prescribing some kind of recipe how not to make the mistake, prescribing some kind of recipe saying, okay, these things are actually going to hinder your evolution. So let's inspect then if there is a God's plan that we can align the free will choice with in order to have better progress, higher stability, or whatever with our choices. And if there are such choices that are actually could be advised against by one or other logic or paradigm, where we could actually set some kind of modality, set up some kind of method for decision making. Okay, so I'm going to lean into Christianity and forgiveness. It's a big topic of that volume of Christianity. It's like forgiveness. So, because we do have free will, and here is coming to mind Jesus saying, "Forgive them, Father consciousness or higher self, because they're not aware of what they're doing." So these individual units of consciousness that are crucifying me are not in the perspective to create a better choice, in the awareness that they have, which is fearful and alarmed for survival by the presence of somebody who is bringing a perspective, new perspective. So Jesus is bringing a new perspective to all these people. And some people are very startled by this new perspective. So in their startledness, their whole mind, their whole worldview, their whole mindset is starting to crumble, and they feel like they're losing the grip of reality. They're losing control. So they're deciding to reactively to purge away this nuisance, like this abruptor, usurper, okay, and therefore they're like killing Jesus, okay, and Jesus having the last name like Christ, or what is that title? Yeah, it's a title, Christ. It means I am this individuality, Jesus, and the Christ means connected to the server. Okay, so Christ literally means here connected to the larger server or the Father. You may call it Father, you may call it higher self, whatever. You're connected to that system that is operating this reality. When you are connected to that system, you understand the intention of the system. You also have compassion that even though in the game your avatar is getting literally what is the word there, like when you're prosecuted and then you're like a mob lynches you, so you're getting lynch mobbed. Okay, you're getting lynch mobbed, but you're still understanding a higher principle of where's everybody coming from. Okay, you understand their perspective even though they don't understand your perspective. So even though it's harmful to your avatar, you can take no judgment, in a sense like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Okay, so you need this higher perspective, because if you would be coming from your personal, individual, selfish survival perspective, then you take offense. Okay, because hey, your instinctual operating system of your body wants to survive, and when somebody is killing you or mob lynching you or something like this. It's something that you will rise against, or you will run away or something like this. Survival tactics. So now, are all of these people making a mistake? Well, in their data set, they cannot see a higher possibility, a better choice to make. So if they do not see, if they do not have data, information to process of a better choice, then they're not basically creating a mistake. Their evolution as an individual and a collective of individuals, I'm talking now, for example, the ones that are crucifying Jesus, they don't have a some other perspective. Even if Jesus is there and they want to take his perspective and understand, they cannot yet. They cannot develop the understanding for his perspective. So, no better choice there. Evolutionary choice, there's no better option. Okay? And so, is that then judged by the higher self? No. It's evolutionary process. So, once you have the insight and the option to choose, and then let's say you could choose something that is selfish over a situation that creates a compromise or a win-win scenario, and you have the options, but you act selfishly, okay, then, and your selfish action, you're also aware of the consequence that's going to be harmful to others, but you decide that you don't care and it's a conscious decision. This is de-evolving. Okay, this is de-evolving. So look at this. For example, when small children are being bullies to other kids, but they don't have any emotional regulation, even self-reflection, to understand even how somebody else will be feeling when we do something that's really not nice to them. And if these children are not aware of that, there is no judgment. There is only the desire from the system generator, or call it God, to still attempt to educate these individuals into a better way of seeing things so they can have the information so they can choose a better route. Now, obviously here a better route is kindness and cooperation. Because through kindness and cooperation, we organize into something that is more akin to a stability. Consciousness then can evolve to higher levels of organization. Okay, people, individuals, we can evolve to higher levels of organization when we start to learn and understand two simple things: kindness and cooperation, kindness and cooperation, kindness and cooperation. But it's not that all the time our behavioral patterns, our subconscious automation that creates how we individually interface with reality, it's not that our behavioral patterns are already installed in a way that has evolved to be able to process reality in such a way that we can always see the potentiality for kindness and cooperation. Many, many times we are driven by this automation, and we are kind of like the individual is the slave of the behavioral patterns that have been automated from before. And these have been installed by the larger group of society because you come into the server or you incarnate, and then you're raised by someone, by a system, by a family system, by a society system, and these systems can be corrupt. Okay? So there can be a lot of patterning in your automation, behavioral patterns, automation, because they run how you react, how you interface. These patterns might have been not evolved yet to a level of uh, compassion, kindness, cooperation when you came into the game, okay? And then how people acted towards you might have been challenging you for survival. So you may then start to develop patterns that adapt for survival, okay? So now we're gonna come back to the idea of the mistakes, how we make mistakes, and can we also like repent for these? Because the consciousness that you are is running this bot with its automated operations. And from time to time, if you observe your patterns, if you meditate and you observe your patterns, you can repattern them. And because there's a greater intelligence here, okay, also present, it's not how you react from your body, from your speech, from your thinking, but there is an intelligence here that's built in that when you relax, you can go into the under the hub of all of this and you can see the patterns, and you can like the imprints in the body's consciousness, the imprints, the memory imprints, they analyze, and there is an advice that you're getting from inside of yourself. Okay, like this ended up like that, and this worked into this, and this we didn't like how this happened, and this hurted us. And so this informational processing is then also kind of analyzing all the experiences that you had, and then the uh, larger intelligence that is inside of you is creating advice. Look at that. See how that went. See where you ended up. See how that actually was hurtful to that other person where you were not aware of how your actions were actually affecting them. So see how that makes you feel sad. See how that makes them feel sad. So what could we do next time? How could we create a preset, a program of behavior when in that type of situation? So your operating system is actually always creating these automated reactions on the surface that we are responsible for, but also at the same time, we cannot always in real time have an installment, especially because everybody's going in the map and doing new things. So we don't know how to adapt. So we just react from whatever patterns we have, but then we have also the way to go like and notice what did we do and what was the fruit of that action, and then install wisdom. Install wisdom, because wisdom you get by making mistakes, by attempting at this or that, different attempts to interface with reality that don't always bear fruit. So reality is like this, guys. We make experimentation. We have free will to drive this. And then we experiment, and then things fail. And sometimes, so what is this? It's an evolutionary mechanism. From these failures, we learn, we get wiser. Yeah? By contemplation. So huge thing here is, in the same way that like Jesus is not upset even though like everybody's not being super nice to him. Okay? But then he has time to process that information, trans- transmute the memory into light, alchemize it, whatever the trauma, and then he's again still rocking, still in the avatar, still alive. So that's a real possibility for everybody here, that your avatar is also immortal. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you this, and then I'm gonna tell you how not to be actually overcritical, okay, of whatever mistakes or not beneficial attempts or not beneficial relationships, whatever you have been trying and experimenting. And if something didn't work, and even if it had a miserable consequence, and even if you killed somebody or poisoned somebody or whatever, because that idea was the strongest kind of like plausible scenario for you to do, okay? Like, even if we were incarnate before and you directly kill me out of whatever, some kind of possessiveness over something that, like, no judgment, for real. Because one thing, once you connect to this server, you can reload your avatar even if the avatar is like, tick, 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 you die, and then you go again. This phenomena is now talked about on the internet because many people had this experience, and they call it on TikTok quantum immortality. And actually, it was shown to me, okay, that I got like in a timeline where I was like die, and then I'm not there lying dead on the floor. I'm like respawning here in the room, like a couple of meters, and I'm like, lol. Because first thing is your consciousness, you, the player, you are immortal. But then also, this whole virtual reality, Earth, is a subset of your computer, so you can reload your avatar in a timeline and just start playing from scratch. So this is also the Bible, and how basically people kill Jesus, but then the Christ reloads Jesus, and he comes to his disciples and it's like, yo, what's up? So that's one. Why then, even because here, what would be the worst case scenario? It's like killing everybody else even though they are you, because you are caught up in an idea. Like, think of like Hitler or somebody else. You're caught up in this idea of like ego versus ego. You don't see the higher container, the higher picture. You don't see outside of the box. So your only option is to like exterminate the other. So, and then actually going about and just like killing all of these others in order for me, you, for us or me to survive, that would be like the highest mistake, I guess. Not sure, but like kind of like feeling into it. Just to be so caught up in the in intermediary processing of this reality, okay, input, that you don't see that there is another way, a higher way. But then if you are in that state of evolution that you don't see that there's a higher way, who can judge you, bro? Why? Who can judge then Hitler? His best idea was an experiment, you see? It was his best idea. And still, it's the worst possible plan that actually creates evolution. It's actually totally entropic, okay? Because as you're killing others, you're killing yourself, but it's not obvious to you. It's a binary consciousness, still a very egoic consciousness, not yet expanded to include everybody else into the perspective. So no pun, but then also very like tragic circumstances within the video game, and still a precious learning experiment to the god mind, because it's like, okay, how can we avoid this scenario? So when I'm like being completely detached in this way, I'm just saying like, I don't know, Holocaust is a learning experiment. Don't get me wrong. In this plane, we have emotion, we have human connection, we have sadness, we have grieving, we have all of these things. But in the God Mind computer, we are generating a reality based on automation, and then we look how it develops. And then if it does not develop in a very cool way, we can like delete it and we can launch another one. Okay, so it would then, the from that perspective, life and death here is not a thing. Consciousness is never harmed, consciousness never dies. It simply goes into these different kind of virtual reality experiments. And so it's the same then depreciation of tragedy that you can experience here in the first person that you would have if you play uh like, I don't know, what is it, Fortnite, and you're just like going around and killing people, and absolutely you don't feel like there's actual harm being done, because when you log out of that reality, these are your friends that you go to school with, that you've been playing there in the Fortnite, you've been killing them, but everybody is perfectly fine. Okay, so you have to understand this dichotomy of higher dimension, lower dimension. Like in the higher dimension, this suffering does not actually exist, or it's not really experienced. It's a suffering in a virtual reality that we take the VR helmet and we get out of this reality and we're like, okay, so that sucked because we wanted to build this civilization, but then it ended up being like all these nations against each other, and then maybe next time let's do something different. So we're just contemplating that and then inserting a new data set and then trying something new. So one reason for no judgment, yeah, is ultimately we're immortal consciousness. Then also on the physical level, if you want to be immortal individual, you need to really then create a contract with the higher self that you want to respawn and continue doing your progress, and you can respawn. So even that is then a possibility. And then finally, when we are processing our own learning curves or mistakes, yeah, when we're processing our own learning curves, take that perspective of how does God, for example, let's call it God, so higher consciousness, superconscious, how does it see this thing that maybe I'm self-critical, maybe I'm kind of like stuck in the why and how and what and who and there's a lot of tension there. But your higher self will always be like, so look, bro, no problem. Like, look, you did this, like you killed somebody, that doesn't work out because you want to actually find a way that you can develop more compassion. So like, get a dog and stop killing people, and then just try this, do some work in the community where you can bond with people, and it's like that. And so that consciousness can be, this is why we say like God is very forgiving, because it's never ever ever going to actually it's always going to give you a helping hand to show you what doesn't work, and then to try to elevate you into a better scenario where you can evolve, okay, in a better way. If you're open for that, never, 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 never you need to be like, we are all sinners and here and we're all doomed and I'm doomed and some self-critical and this is still an ego trap, like being in a fixed mindset of something is wrong, whether I did something wrong or you did something wrong to me, and then not finding a solution. That can be just like a bummed out state of like a depressed state of like, I don't know, self-hatred or hatred for others is again self-hatred in the mirror. So it's just like, how about the effortless way? How about the effortless way? What's the best way to approach this scenario from now on? Please show me. Like, please, like all the information from the supercoin. Like, show me a better way, 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 show me a better way. Okay? And then proceed by implementing the better way. And the funny thing is that still sometimes the infinite is like, well, I can't give you one way because you are there in a reality where everybody is a creator. So you can have this way or that way or this way or that way. And this way or that way or this way or that way may develop different scenarios, different timelines. Okay? So it's not prescribed that God plan has one way for you. It depends how you ask the question. Like, you're gonna get the best possible inspiration for that type of journey development. Okay, if you ask, what's the best diet? What's the best way that I can help people? What's the best possible lifestyle for me? It really depends on you. And then if you say, how about I do this diet, you're going to start to get inspiration and manifestation of that type of diet. If you say, how about I make this business to help people do that, you're going to start to receive inspiration and, data to start building that or interacting in people in this type of team and it's this type of setting. But what if I start doing that and like interfacing with people on that platform, on that reality, and like these conversations, and then you're going to start to receive inspiration to do it in that way. So you're the driver, you're the player, even though like just one perspective of consciousness, just one camera, but you have the infinite connecting into you, and then you're making choices. So this is then also the importance of why the higher self creates humans, because like God cannot express itself freely because it knows itself and its whole. All of its aspects are working together, like organism, where all of the aspects are working together, and they are quantumly entangled. So everything is always synergized, harmonious. There's no unique developments. Whatever this guy is doing here, this guy is also automatically kind of like balancing that, right? So, and there's all kind of tentacles, but they're just entangled in one organization. So there's no experimentation because there is no unknown. But here we are, we're humans, and I'm totally oblivious to what you have been doing today previously. I'm zoomed into my own personal consciousness perspective, individual consciousness perspective. I don't know what I'm going to be doing later. I have so many possibilities. So, however, we are driving this reality, we are just mixing up the possibilities, and there's so much randomness and there's so much chaos. But then everybody is navigating and surfing that chaos, and we're taking bits and pieces and organizing them into our creativity, into our lives. And so every day we process information, and it's always just getting destabilized because nobody's in control of everybody else's action. Okay, so fuck yeah, we can make mistakes, or fuck yeah, things cannot end up like we planned, and that is the inherent beauty, okay, of this. like the imperfection, and even like it turns into pain, it turns into suffering, it turns into all kind of poop that we have to deal here and that we have to learn to endure. Okay, because it's the level of reality where we're at. But then the freedom is unprecedented. Okay, the freedom, but then how to juggle, how to surf, how to navigate that freedom, it's an art of being human. It's an art of being human. Okay, so it's said, and it's not like it's the actual truth. There are higher realms exist in a higher frequency within unity consciousness, where you and me are both gods and goddesses, and we can just, like everything is a your whole reality is your own Netflix, and you can just like reshape it from your mind, and you live in eternal heaven, and you can do anything that you want, and everything is pleasure, and there's no freaking commotion, there's no chaos, there's no suffering, and you're eternal God being, also individualist, but you're being that is one with source. Okay, here you are also, but then under a set of limitations that you don't have that power of source. In the higher individualities you have way more enjoyment, way more powers, and still you want to incarnate on earth, and still you envy humans. Okay, this is the truth of like devis and devas and devis, these light beings that live in higher realms. They envy human experience. That is so tragic, so full of suffering, so miserable, so full of mistakes. And, you know, in heavens, your coffee never gets cold. Cannot get cold. You can sip it all day, it does not get cold. If it does get cold, you make it warm again. So there are no problems to troubleshoot. And here we are. That's it.